Discussion time. Is Wanda gonna be the new villain in the Marvel Universe? Picture this. Our hero enters the scene. They arrive at a small town, the entrance to a small town that happens to be completely surrounded by an invisible force field which doesn't seem to let anyone out or anyone in. Within this town is the entire population who are being mind controlled by a witch who has them all under her spell, basically living out a life that she desires.
My wife and her flying saucers.
My husband and his indestructible head.
When that hero then approaches, peacefully, mind you, our hero is then ejected violently from said town, and any and all attempts from there on are met with violence. There are literally children being held from their parents for days or even weeks at a time, and we can only assume that those children are okay, we hope, but their parents can't even see them. So is this previous superhero becoming the new villain? Or is Wanda an example of what we might do if we were given such incredible powers and was going through the grief that she is going through? So before we dive into if Wanda Maximoff, aka the Scarlet Witch, is going to be the new villain in the Marvel Universe, I mean, a Doctor Strange Scarlet Witch face-off would be epic, I think we should take a look at the human psychology behind the audience watching WandaVision. So when a character in a TV show or a movie actually does something violent, we as the audience have a moral compass. It's been found that when the character is basically being violent in whatever way, shape or form, as long as they are either protecting themselves, someone they love, or someone they know, we generally are absolutely fine with even the most offensively violent acts. I mean, look at Die Hard. It's a Christmas classic, yet we have no problem with him sending a dead body down in an elevator with ho 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 written on his jumper.
Ho, ho, ho.
Home Alone has an 8-year-old child essentially pummeling two men almost to death. Now, for those of you who have been following the Marvel Universe, we do know that Wanda Maximoff has had it pretty rough. She basically watched her parents die in front of her, her brother get shot down in front of her lover, Vision, get killed by her, and then again by Thanos moments later. She's a pretty emotionally damaged character in the Marvel Universe. Compared to pretty much all of the others, she has a lot of a reason to have, you know, maybe some issues to have to go to therapy for. But we all know before we can talk about these things, we actually have to come to terms with them. And this is where I think the core of WandaVision comes from. The writers are basically saying, what if Wanda couldn't come to terms with the events of Avengers Endgame? What if she would literally do anything to avoid the pain and despair of her grief when we get the WandaVision TV series? However, from literally the first episode, forums were ablaze with theories. Is Wanda Maximoff a villain for doing what she's done? Is she essentially the bad woman?
It's your destiny to destroy the world.
Some people in the forums came to Wanda's defense and stated how she didn't know what she was doing when she did it. However, she was told by other characters that this was happening and that she was doing it, and she kept going. She deliberately ignored Vision, her love, in favor of keeping everyone under her thumb.
As a family, and he can't reach them because you won't let him reach
I
them.
don't know what you're talking about.
Stop lying to me!
So I think the argument that she was unaware is a little bit moot because the evidence was presented to her and she did deep down know what she was doing. Even when we get up to episode 9, she was still almost in a state of denial that she was causing every person in the town pain from her own despair that was seeping into them from her magic.
We feel your pain. Your grief is poisoning us.
No, stop.
Please, let us go.
Even at the end of episode 9, once Agatha Harkness has been beaten, all of her powers has been taken from her, Scarlet Witch has come to fruition. She has become realized within Wanda Maximoff. Wanda also then takes justice into her own hands after what she's just done, imprisoning her in her own brain. Now, admittedly, there probably wouldn't be many other ways of dealing with Agatha Harkness, given that she's a witch as well. And given her morally ambiguous position at the end of episode 9, this is probably the right time to have approached maybe the Avengers with, the discussion, what should be done, rather than taking it into her own hands. But she did anyway, and she did it with a smirk.
Wait.
There was an arrogance, an ego that again pushed me away from empathizing with Wanda Maximoff. I feel like they're putting a wedge between the Avengers and Wanda. And I feel like this is also going to lead to a very interesting storyline when White Vision does come back. Will there be a relationship? Or will it be that her actions during this series have actually pushed them apart? So given the chance of actually getting the real Vision back, karma comes back to punish her. Because let's face it, there's not really any other character, maybe Captain Marvel, who could actually take on the Scarlet Witch in terms of power. Really, karma is probably the best possible punishment for Wanda Maximoff and what she's done during WandaVision.
All of this is for us.
It's important to also take a look at what happened in the final cutscene. Wanda is seen in a wooden cabin in the middle of the mountains, and she's also seen in a spectral form reading through the very same kind of witch's Bible that we'd seen earlier in the episode. But it also made me question, why was she in this remote location? Why had she sent herself away into solitude? Is it guilt? And if there is guilt, then she is a redeemable character, unlike villains who have no guilt for what they've done. So seeing her in the mountains is a good thing, I think, for the storyline of Wanda and keeping her within the Avengers. If she was just trying to find a place to actually learn, she probably could have quite easily gone to visit Doctor Strange in New York and hid up in his building somewhere in some type of magical imprisonment there. And she probably could have learned a damn sight quicker than if she'd gone up into the mountains on her own. Because let's face it, Doctor Strange being the Sorcerer Supreme, he's probably got a thing or two up his sleeve to show her that she probably does need to learn. Side note, Doctor Strange could have taken at least 10 seconds out of his day after the events of Avengers Endgame just to let Wanda Maximoff know, you know what, you should probably go and read a couple of books on the old magical powers. No, mister, I have no time to help anybody else because I'm the Sorcerer Supreme.
You were right. I was a complete ass.
The other reason why she went up into the mountains could be that she's just trying to hide from the authorities because, let's face it, she's probably a fugitive now. How do you feel about Wanda Maximoff and her actions during the series WandaVision? Do you feel like she's still a redeemable character given that she actually caused no permanent damage and no actual deaths during the events of WandaVision? Or do you think ultimately she still has to pay for her actions in some way? She's probably caused decades worth of psychological damage. The children would have been confronted with emotions that they couldn't possibly have understood. So who's to answer for all of this?
You don't want to know, I promise you.
You don't get to make that choice for me, Wanda!
So we know we have a whole bunch of breakout series coming up in the next few weeks, in fact, with Winter Soldier and the Falcon. So will they pick up on that same storyline and continue moving forward? So now bringing in more Avengers into the problem of WandaVision. I'd love to know what you think. Will Wanda Maximoff be the next villain in the Avengers Marvel universe? Or is it someone else?